We are in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. This is part 3. We go through the Bible, Delaney and I, and we just use the Bible to help us open us up to topics, because the whole show is I don't get the Bible. So what is the Bible teaching us as and that's what we're doing.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Verse 7 of chapter 12 of 1 Corinthians. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom, to another message he goes through, a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by means of the same Spirit, to another gifts, miraculous powers, another distinguishing between spirits, another different kind of tongues, still interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines. So first of all, he needs to clarify that it's one Spirit, because they're coming from like paganism, right?
Maybe they're giving some spiritual gifts assignment to different spirits.
Okay.
You know, this was kind of, they're still trying to figure stuff out.
Okay.
So he emphasizes that. It's all the same Spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then these gifts today, we've talked about it vaguely, but like he names specific ones, and then later he names more specifically, but
yeah. And when he names them, this is why I'm not a cessationist, I don't know what the word is, but I believe, like you just read a little bit of a laundry list, and I believe that as you pursue and seek him and grow in the Spirit, these things are given to you more and more. And if you have one, or if you have none, or if you have 7 of them, that's what you're given. And I know that there are some that you just read that I mean, I know that God has given me a semblance of them in my life. Yeah. Like, so read them again.
a message of wisdom.
Okay. So I think that's,
You have that.
you get a wisdom. What's wisdom? It's knowledge applied. So when you can take knowledge of the spiritual things and apply them, that's it. Does it come naturally? I don't know. But through work and searching, I've sort of learned to develop that.
Knowledge, faith, healing, miraculous powers.
I don't have the gift of healing, but... And what was the other one?
Miraculous powers.
Miraculous powers. I don't know about that, but the knowledge and the wisdom and the inner things, yeah, I mean, they come.
Is it possible that, like, before, in that time, he's talking to them, and he says, like, each person gets a gift, and it makes a body, but that was when there was a body, and there's church and stuff. So is it possible that individuals in communion with God kind of develop all of them?
Sure. Because he's going to say, covet the best gifts.
Oh.
He's going to say, seek after all of them. Try to get them. Yeah.
So you can, like, you can acquire them and develop them.
The gift of faith, I hand to God, I mocked faith as a LDS person. I mocked it. I laughed at it. I said, it's stupid. I hate it. Yeah, I remember saying it. But when I entered the school of ministry, I started talking and seeking every day, asking for faith. Because I learned that that's all the only way to please God as a human. And he gives it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was wondering then, like, because he's talking to them and because they were so material then, I wondered if those gifts were culturally specific, but it seems like they're more like applicable, like universally, would you say?
Seems like it.
Healing
I think they're more they're all spiritually based because it's coming from the Spirit. The culture, I think the gifts of the Spirit or whatever, the Spirit transcends culture.
Like tongues?
Yeah, I mean, but that still has a place in this world. You could go to some place.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about tongues as it comes up because it's a discussion we should have. But yeah, that's, I mean, definitely at that time. And remember, the Holy Spirit was given in abundance. This is what cessationists say. It was so powerful then because they had to know by these signs and wonders, that's the culture they came out of, that this is from God.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that section starts with, now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good.
Yeah.
And that also felt like something that is specific. Like, does God work for the common good now, do you think?
I think so, yeah. But I think the common good is for his believers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's also for the world because
Okay.
everybody possesses some knowledge of God.
So the common good at that time was brought about by the manifestation of the Spirit, which revealed itself through gifts.
Yeah.
And the common good for them was salvation, or
The common good was more faith, trusts,
okay.
so that they would be saved and they would have strength to avoid all the traps and the other things that were calling to them to not believe.
Okay. Okay. And then the last thing is, all of these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines.
Yeah.
That's not implying that everyone had a gift, was it?
No, it's not.
Just he's distributing them.
Yeah, and when it says he's there, he's distributing, many people will use that as evidence that the Spirit is a man.
No.
But you could say that's God. But we're going to
Yeah.
come across passages where the Spirit is described as a he, and is not. The Spirit in the Greek is gender neutral, and the Spirit in the Old Testament is feminine. So by assigning he to it concords with the Trinity. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, he, individuals.
Yeah, aren't there other times where they call it?
No, it doesn't say it in the Scripture. But
It
if you're going to
doesn't?
read it rightly, you'll say it.
It never says it.
It never
about the
says
Spirit.
it. No.
Really?
No, because the translators wanted the Spirit to be a he.
So all the times it's talking about the Spirit, they put he in
yeah.
there? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's an argument I have against the Trinity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. But there's a reason they do that, and this is their justification. Jesus likens the Holy Spirit to what he calls the Comforter. And in Greek, that's the Paraclete. And he says, but the Paraclete, and in that illusion, that example of the Spirit, it's masculine. It's the one time that he uses an illustration of a comforter. And because that illustration is masculine, every other time the Holy Spirit, which is gender neutral, is assigned he.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not a sufficient proof that it's.
No, it's an analogy.
It's just an analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how they justify it.
Wow. Very bad justification, people. So just as a body, though one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jew or Gentile, slave or free, and we were all given one Spirit to drink. I was struck by it saying we were all baptized by one Spirit, but that's meaning he's just speaking to believers, right?
Yeah.
It's not
We
like
is
all.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. At that point, it's them.
Okay. Do you have anything to note there?
That the baptism there is the baptism of the Spirit, not water.
Okay. We
Yeah.
were all baptized by one Spirit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when Jesus came, John said, "I'm not worthy to latch your shoe," or whatever. But John described him as coming to baptize with. He goes, "I baptize with water," John says. But the one who I'm not even worthy to tie his shoe, it comes to baptize with fire and the Spirit. That's the important baptism to have. The water one is not. So that's what I think we're.
And okay. And the spirit, you said, we went over this when it like fell upon them or whatever, and was the baptism?
That was the baptism for those who were there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But were they doing water baptisms too?
Yeah.
To these people? Okay. That wasn't irrelevant when John the Baptist said that after Jesus came. It was still
practiced, yeah.
Okay, moving on. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. And the whole thing. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, ears and eyes.
I love that analogy, though. It's so beautiful.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really smart. And I wish we would do that with each other.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I relate to it. Like, freaking architecture works off of those principles, and kinesiology, and like the world. Yeah, like systems. But then with people.
Yeah.
But he continues on. It says, but in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. They're all one part. Where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. My question was about the bride, but we talked a lot about that. Just like what defines the body. But that was just one big analogy, right?
It was one big analogy. Now, people still call the body as existing on the earth today.
Okay.
And it gets a little dicey because you have the bride, you have the body, you have the church, you have the called out, the ecclesia, you have all kinds of imagery.
Are those all referring to the same thing?
I think they're all referring to the same thing.
The bride and the body.
The bride, the church, the called out, and the body that they're talking about was all the same.
Okay.
Because of fulfillment and him taking the bride, I don't see us talking about each other as a body. I see the application being we are either children of God or not.
Okay.
And we become children of God by faith.
Okay.
So it's now a family of children, and our parents are Christ and his bride.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in the next section, I'm skipping, but it's like God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it.
Such an important line.
Yeah, and so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. So it seems like that's obviously like a spiritual thing. Yeah. Like he's coming off of saying like there are in real life, there are ways that we treat the body parts differently, and some you cover up, some you don't, whatever. But God puts it together so we don't do that. And so based on what you just said about the body not really being a thing anymore, it still seems like this principle is at play.
Yeah, it does. And that's why I said it gets kind of hard to navigate that. Because I do see in the world a body of believers. Yeah. And with all of us having different gifts.
My impression is that then there were these specific gifts to not cause division in a literal body, and like they wanted to stay solid and protected or whatever. But now it's spiritual, where we have love for one another and the things that person brings, but it's not necessarily like in the ways that it was for them or as dire necessarily, but that's how he works with us. Does that sound right?
It does. And today, all believers are contributing to the family, the body. If you want to make it the body, you want to make it family. Yeah. Any of those terms I think still work. The called out still works. But the bride doesn't work. It just doesn't work with us. We are not the bride. And that's what everyone who are in evangelicalism call believers. We're the bride. Yeah.
And the family is different because the body needs all the parts to function. Right. Where the family, it's like it doesn't need, Like if one falls away, it doesn't break the family.
Right.
Necessarily.
Good point.
Is that true?
Ooh, that's a really good point. Because we have members of our family, the Adams Road thing.
Yeah.
They can become cancerous and they get removed. You know. But no, that's a really good point. That in that day, the bride, the body, had to be whole.
Yeah, and it was one whole body that God related to.
Yeah.
But now the family with them as parents, we just relate to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Doesn't it? That's a really good catch. I didn't even think of that.
I'm surprised.
I know. Yeah.
But there's still, and then in the same way the body has all the functions and different gifts, we individually are able to maybe acquire all of them, like you're saying. Like you have more wisdom and more faith.
Yeah, because as an individual, you've chosen to pursue more, to find more, and to rely more by faith on Him to gift them to you.
Yeah, and you say like you don't have healing, but you do. You heal people with
but in
your
a different
words.
sense.
Yeah, like it seems like all of these things are just based on the way you have taught. Like it's all spiritual. There is a literal like these things that are listed are spiritually still going on.
Even like the gift of tongues.
Yeah.
If you speak in the spiritual language that people can understand, that might be a form of it. We are so literal that it has to be blah, 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 blah. But no.
It's like it's a translation thing that happens across languages or just perspectives even or something.
But the thing I love about that whole analogy, which you may be getting to, is when he says it's the unseemly, it's the and like if you think about it, we have a little vein somewhere that connects certain things, and if that thing breaks, it's ugly, but if it breaks, you're dead. Right? But you can have your face, which is beautiful, and your body if you're the eyes of the face, you get all the attention. You get all, but it's those ugly hidden parts that are so important. And that is why Jesus says the last will be first and the first will be last. It's the insignificant who never get anything but just walk in the faith. They really are the most amazing souls, and I marvel at them. I get on TV, and I get some stuff from this or whatever, and I am more like the face of the thing, and you get all the attention. But I just marvel at the lowly, broken, humble men and women out there who just follow Him, and they allow themselves to experience poverty, and they just love Him humbly. And that blows my mind. It also makes me really sick of people who use the faith to build themselves up.
It's insane. It seems like that's applicable to parts of ourselves too, like the parts of ourselves that are,
I love that.
less attention grabbing are the important parts. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Do you think?
So that lends right into humility.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that old Indian story. I think I may have already shared it. If I did, tell me. It comes from the Hindu culture where a man just fell in love with a woman in the market. She was gorgeous. Did I ever tell you this?
No, I don't think so.
And she said, "Oh, yeah, you love me? Yes, I want to marry you. I'll give you everything." And so she said, "Okay, come back in 90 days." So during that time, she goes and she starves herself, and she uses purgative herbs, and she vomits, and this is how it's told, defecates into this big tin in her backyard, and she becomes so unhealthy, and really, really, her hair starts breaking off and her skin's lesions because she won't feed the flesh. And then he comes back in 90 days to marry her, and she opens the door, and he says, "What has happened to you?" And she said, "Oh, I thought you loved me. This is where my beauty is."
Wow. That's amazing.
Isn't that a great story?
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I gather those things from studying the religions back in the lost years.
That is so good, though.
Isn't that this life? Yeah, and I wish we could get women especially to understand because the outward stuff, it's this earth, it's the flesh, it's the heart. And that, just to bring it back to home, that's the beautiful thing about Mom. She's attractive, but bottom line, in the end, she has the most beautiful soul. She's screwed up too. She's got anger and all kinds of, but when the rubber meets the road, she is that beautiful soul. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, and so do you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And you have the outward beauty too.
No, I don't. Yeah. It's funny because I feel like I gloss over the big ones just because, like, it's obvious how amazing it is. It's a weird, I don't know why I'm doing that. It's like, but that's an amazing one.
It is.
And I didn't, but he continues on, now that you are the body of Christ. Well, wait. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part's honored, every part rejoices with it. That's a aspect of it that you don't think of either. Like, we all, if we bring down the bad aspects of the family or whatever, like, we're all brought down.
Yeah. I think it's more pertinent to the body image, because if you just get an infected toe, you're in misery, right?
Yeah.
But now it's
true. We
got to support the family. And when you attack a family member and bring them down, it's not good.
It just isn't. It's like, you can see it in actual, like, literal families.
Yeah, you can.
Like, when one's down, the rest of the family, it just doesn't work well. Yeah. So,
and I would even be so liberal to say that the family now is the whole world.
Well, it seems like that. There's heirs in that family, and there's people who have left the family, or sort of. But point.
Like, so, like, let's just say that I don't want to mention a name. Let's say we had another daughter, and her name was Mag.
Okay.
Not Mags. Her name was Cindy. Cindy's still my daughter.
Yeah.
But let's say Cindy does not want anything to do with us. She's on drugs. She hates God. She's still my daughter.
Yeah.
But she's not part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to be.
Right.
She stays
and she's
outside.
Choosing that.
And
God, do I still love Cindy? Of course. She's my creation.
Yeah.
But she does not want to be. And that's more how to see this.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're past 20 minutes.
Where are we at in the chapter? Let's finish it.
Okay, yeah, there's a few verses left. Now you are the body of Christ. Each one of you is a part of it. And God has placed the church, which I didn't.
So he just tied body of Christ to church right there.
Okay.
And he says it to them then. We read that now and we say that's us. Not true.
Yeah. And God has placed in the church, first of all, apostles, second, prophets, third, teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, of helping, of guidance, different kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all have the gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? Now eagerly desire the greater gifts. And yet I will show you the most excellent way.
And boy, does he bring us into, and that's why body bride here. Now he's bringing us into the more excellent way, which is why we preach the more excellent way.
For sure.
See?
But, yeah. Before we go to that line, placed in the church, I didn't know they referred to themselves as a church.
Yes. But you know where that comes from? The Old Testament.
Oh.
The ecclesia, the church, the called out, is used as much in the Old Testament as it is in the New.
Wow.
But it's in the Hebrew. But it's the same thing. So when Christ comes in the Gospels, and he says, if there's a sinner among you, go unto them, and if they won't listen to you, take them to the elders of the church. And you have to say, what church? There was no church then established. He was out just doing his ministry at that point. He's referring to what was before, the gathering of the believers in the Old Testament. You see? So we don't see that stuff. We think it's an administration for church here and now, but really it was speaking to something that had existed well before he ever came.
That's interesting.
The called out.
By the way, in the past episode, you talked about the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
And then you said when law came in, they became Jews.
No, it's not when law came in. It's when they took the law and made it their God.
Okay. So, like, why? I don't understand the terminology. Like, why Jews at that point? They weren't Jews in the nation of Israel before?
There were Jews, Hebrews, nation of Israel. They all mean the same thing, but they don't. Just put it this way. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, 12 sons. That's the nation of Israel. Okay. They ultimately, to make it easy, separated into a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. All right? And they both respectively, northern and southern, went into bondage. When they came out of bondage to the Assyrians and the Babylonians, there was a disbursement of most of those tribes, but the remnant regathered in Judah's land. Judah. And they came out and they gathered from that, and so they were all identified as Jews. That's when the nation of Israel simmered down to people called Jews. And they went forward and they started to make the law everything, scribal law. And so those guys came forward, and so that's why when Jesus shows up 400 years later, it's the whole faith has become Jews. But they don't, he is looking for those who are part of Judaism, who are true nation of Israel, who are from different tribes and different places. The Jew thing became like an identity that was not of God. God wanted the nation of Israel, which was made of 12 sons. They all kind of identified under one banner, and by the time we get to the apostolic record, they're called Jews. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this is dumb, but the 12 sons are not, like, their dad is Jacob, and Isaac's sons are Arabs.
Isaac had two sons. No. Abraham had the two sons. The first one was from Hagar, the handmaiden, and that is Ishmael. And
Ishmael.
From Ishmael came the... Yeah.
Isaac and Jacob's sons are Israel.
Isaac...
Or just Jacob.
No, but Isaac had two sons too. One was Esau and one was... and Jacob. One was Jacob, one was Esau.
Oh, it goes Abraham, Isaac, then Jacob below that.
Yeah.
Esau and Jacob were Isaac's sons.
Yes.
And then Jacob had 12 sons.
Right.
Which were...
Right.
And Esau...
Esau is a different group, but the interesting thing is they're still part of Abraham's family.
Wow.
Yeah,
as is Ishmael.
That's right. And people do not want to believe or see that. So what we do is we pick the hell on those people.
Yeah.
While the real culprits have been his own chosen people, the Jews.
And the Jews, which were part of the nation of Israel that took it the wrong way, basically. The nation of Israel is defined as Abraham's descendants or Jacob's?
Both. Because
any of Abraham's are the nation of Israel.
No. There's a line. That's the thing. It gets confusing.
Okay.
So Abraham, and then he has Ishmael, and Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac's the chosen one.
Okay.
Ishmael, Arabs. They were not the chosen, but they were loved. He made them a great nation.
Okay. Why did you say Abraham's descendants are like
they're all sons of Abraham. They're not
right.
They're not nation of Israel, but they're all sons of Abraham.
Which is still like a designation higher than a normal person.
Yes, higher than the outliers.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a chance that like Muslim or Islam, I always get these terms mixed up.
Same
Don't
thing.
hate me. Is like of God?
Oh,
then,
sure.
In that case?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They became warlike, and they weren't his chosen people through whom he would bring the Messiah.
Right.
But he loved them, and he said to Ishmael, I will make you a great nation.
Wow.
Yeah. But we don't want to even... Now, Ishmael came through a handmaiden, Hagar. She was not the chosen woman. Abraham and Sarah were the couple. And from Sarah alone came Isaac. So we have that line delineated. However, that does not mean God did not love Ishmael and his offspring.
Yeah.
It's just through the line he brought the Messiah. And that's what the whole Old Testament's about.
Which the Messiah covers Ishmael's descendants
Of course.
too.
Yeah.
Not just...
And someday Ishmael's descendants in the lives of each individual Muslim, they will come to know who he is.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have been reconciled to him. And he is their, and so it says every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. They are not second-class citizens.
No.
The evil ones are evil, just like the evil Christians are evil.
Yeah.
But it does not mean God did not love them.
Yeah, and it seems like people would blame it on it being like a handmaiden or
Yeah, they
whatever. But doesn't Jesus, aren't there really dirty
Oh yeah, he
things
came
in
from a
his
horrible
line?
line.
Yeah.
So that's a stupid argument.
Yeah.
But for argument's sake, we can see how when you act on your own flesh to take the handmaiden,
it just wasn't supposed to
it wasn't
be that.
supposed to,
It's
yeah.
not that it was bad.
And so it turned into problems for the true nation.
Yeah.
Because man acted on their own will. Abraham and Sarah said, "Look, take my handmaiden." So it created problems, but it doesn't mean God doesn't love them.
Yeah, and uses it
Yes.
to his...
He does use it.
Yeah, totally.
To torture them and go after them when they start to get... So we try to box everything into these little ways. He is so much bigger.
Wow.
And just to take it even further, if we take Ishmael... So that's just one line we know of Abraham. The rest of the world was in paganism. But he also loved that other nation. And so the Hindus and the Buddhists.
I was just going to ask, where does that come from?
That's all from a different fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it all comes in different ways that are both good and bad. But God so loved the world, he sent his son to reconcile all of us, which is why we have the CPI and off, because we're trying to say we believe what we believe, but we believe it includes you. And this is the great news. It's better than just what the good news was to the Jews. But you say that and people just can't take it.
It's really hard to know what you're saying.
It is.
There is so much context to what you're saying that people just think you're spitting an opinion, a preference.
No. We've worked this out.
Yeah.
And that's why we're hooked to something that is so important. But we're not alone in this. This isn't Shawn McCraney and Delaney McCraney's prophecy. This has been there.
Yeah. We've talked about this once. This is my last question, but Ishmael has Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
Or Muhammad is Muslims' person, prophet.
Yeah.
That Muhammad is Moses to Muslims, right?
Muhammad is Christ.
Oh.
Yeah. He is the final prophet to a Muslim.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened is that, but Muslims and Muhammad recognize Christ.
What was is Muhammad I forget the word, but chronologically at the same time as Jesus?
No. He was...
Before?
No. He was after.
After.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not good on
okay.
that. But what made him the last... So now this takes us to a new thing. So we have Christ come and do his thing. And if I'm wrong on the date, it's okay. So Muhammad, he has a vision... And he goes to a cave, and an angel shows up to him and dictates to him a book. And it's called the Quran. And the Quran at the opening says it's the most correct book on the face of the earth. Joseph Smith. So the parallels between those two groups are insanely close. They work by law.
Muslim and Judaism.
Muslims and
Yeah.
Mormons.
Oh, and
Yeah,
Mormons.
because they come from one man who had visions, brought forth a book. They call it the most correct book on the face of the earth, you see? And so the parallels between those religions are very exact in how they live and how they...
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild. And except Mormons wrap Jesus in with that, which is a weird thing.
They do, and that's what we're talking about on Heart of the Matter now, is the ingenious cobbling together of Christianity restored by Smith and Freemasonry restored by Smith, cobbled together in a religion that is so hard to beat when it's an evangelical talking about their stuff to a Mormon who sees the faith in a way that the evangelical can't compete with. And because they can't compete with it, it looks like Mormonism as a religion is superior. It's actually more sinister.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a huge subject.
It's mind-blowing how that's a huge the whole thing. It's mind-blowing that like Muslims and Jews are fighting today
Yeah.
harder than they ever have.
Yeah.
Because of brothers.
Yeah. Brothers.
Literal brothers.
Yeah.
It's
And I don't know why
so
they can't go
deep.
back to that and just say we come from the same father.
Literally the
Yeah,
same
Abraham.
father.
Yeah.
But one's the stepchild or whatever,
Yeah.
like the
Well,
not
how Paul
correct.
puts it is Ishmael is a product of the flesh, but Isaac is a product of the spirit. And he makes a comparison between that, and that's the same war that goes on with us now.
Wow.
We are flesh and spirit. So is the flesh going to win? That's how it comes together.
It is so insane.
Are you starting to see the genius of
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
There's actual babies with their heads cut off
Yeah.
laying on the ground right now
Because
because
of
of that.
And that's what God said when Abraham took Hagar is, I'm going to make you a great nation, but this is going to cause you problems, and it's problems even out till today.
God, that's insane.
Great stuff.
It makes
Your
no
questions
sense.
are starting to elevate in understanding.
The
I mean,
Old Testament is
you go back to our first shows, it's awesome because
Yeah.
you're just like, and now you're getting things, and
oh
it's
my
really
gosh.
beautiful to watch.
Thanks for the patience.
No.
Um,
I
It
love
makes
this.
all-
I could spend all day doing this with different people if
I
they would
know,
be
we
willing to
need-
seek and ask questions.
Reach out, people.
Reach out, man. Call in on Thursdays.
Call in. It makes one last point is it makes no sense that Christians would have a side in that war to
Well,
me.
Okay, so here's the sense of the Christians having a side in that war. They're waiting for Jesus to come back to Israel, Jerusalem, and save us, to take us, all the believers, up. So they have to side with Israel. They can't side with Muslims because Israel is the ones who own Jerusalem. It's in Israel, and Christ is coming back to save us. So we have to support the land that he came from.
But why? Like Christ can come back on that land no matter who's on it.
I know, but Israel is from the line. Israel is from the line. And because we're Christians who come from the line, we support Israel because that's who Christ came from, and not the fleshly line of Ishmael.
That just is
That's why
not a
they
good
do it.
argument to me.
Yeah, it does make some sense. I mean, if there is a line, one of the flesh, one of the spirit, and the one of the spirit goes down through and Christ comes through that line, and those are the Jews.
But God himself loves the Muslims.
Right. But his love for them is not part of the line.
But the line that's bringing the Messiah is going to cover those Muslims too.
Right. But they see that as happening after he comes for his own. So eschatology plays a huge part in getting your mindset right.
But I just don't get, like, I get in, like, principle being like, I like the Jews because I'm a Christian and they come from the line, but to support them having the land just feels
That's
like
the
it's not
promised
that
land.
necessary.
But that's the land that was promised them to their father Abraham. And to the line that is spiritual, they were to come in. We're talking about that now. Come into the promised land and take that land that Muslims and Jews fight over today.
And Muslims say that they were promised that land.
Their lineage and history says that's our land. So they're fighting over that land. Well, the land has shrunken down to a little strip.
Gaza.
Yeah. And they fight over that tooth and nail.
Who was promised it?
Well,
why do they think that? Like,
because in Muhammad's writings,
it's Muhammad's writings
and it's
that
retrospective.
Say. Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Muhammad is the one claiming that land, and the Old Testament is the one claiming that land.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the Old Testament, which is a history of the nation of Israel through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not Ishmael and those, and that story has God say, those who support you I support, and those who are against you I will destroy. Christians read that and they say we have to support Israel.
I see.
Now, and so then we have our political leaders knowing that, not being Christian, step up on the conservative side, the Trump side today,
I support
and say
Israel.
we support Israel. Christians join with me.
Yeah.
So that's why Christians are usually so conservative and Republican and go for people like Trump.
Yeah.
But the eschatology destroys that.
Yeah.
So you know what the claim is against our eschatology? We're anti-Semitic. That's what people would say if they heard it. You don't love the Jews. That's not true. You see how that works?
Yeah, but there is an element of the Jews caused all of this in fulfillment. The fulfilled perspective is like, they really effed it up.
Well, there is that, but I would agree. You can see that, but any Christian can see it too. I mean, Martin Luther said, if you find a Jew, burn their house.
Wow.
Yeah, he was anti-Semitic as you can get. I mean, Christians pick on Joseph Smith and Brigham Young for saying things. He and Calvin, they said so many horrific things. And this is way after Christ came and did what he did. Yeah.
This is a really confusing topic to me.
Is it? It'll clear up.
Because, yeah.
But what we're talking about now, for your age and your friends, and everybody is pro-Palestine.
They really are.
Yeah, and everybody is, and there's only certain ones who are brave enough to say no, like Ben Shapiro and stuff. But it's becoming like the world is becoming so humanist that they don't even care about the scriptural connection anymore.
Oh no, it's very ridiculed.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say God is giving you this land?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
But
the Muslims are saying that.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. They're also saying that.
So I don't know. The irony of it is that the liberal side of our world, the LGBTQ and all that, who are defending Palestine, would be beheaded for their behaviors by the Palestinians.
That's so true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just so stupid. But then again, I don't know what the Jews would do to them either. So,
yeah, that's true.
I want nothing to do with it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Like, why we even want to have a say in it?
Palestinian, I love you.
The fight.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wants the fight to stop, and that I understand.
I get that.
That's like, there are children by the hundreds and thousands dying. It's insane.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't even be a fight at all.
So guess what would bring peace? And this is something I reached out to somebody years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We have the solution.
Fulfillment.
It would bring peace to all of this. At least it would bring the U.S. to stop being so pro-Israel.
Yeah.
But when I was just able, I want this to be on the record, I said, if you're Palestinian, I love you. If you're a Jew, I love you.
Yeah. That's the Christian perspective.
Yeah. Should be.
Like, yes. And there is no Christian politics.
No. None. So it's all this world. Yeah. This is another good one.
It's another good one.
Did we finish 12?
Another 45-minute one, too. We did finish 12. And yet I will show you a most excellent way. 13.
Oh, and what is that?
Love.
All about
Love.
love.
Okay. Okay, well, see you later.
Bye.